When it comes to making money and starting a side hustle, there are no shortage of ideas out there. In fact, if you Google side hustles to do from home, how to make money fast, how to make money with your car, there are hundreds of different options to choose from a variety of different sources. But the truth is, whenever it comes to making money, many of these options aren't great and others are straight up scams. This means that it can be pretty tough to cut through the noise and figure out which side hustles are actually worth pursuing. So I thought that I would help. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down 5 of the most frequently recommended side hustles that specifically involve how to make money with your car. I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of each one of these and if they're even worth pursuing at all. So let's get started. Now, some OG viewers of this channel may remember back in 2020, whenever I started doing YouTube, a main focus of this channel was side hustles in the gig economy. And while I don't make videos talking about that subject very often anymore, I am still a huge proponent of the gig economy as a whole, and I love the idea of side hustles and wholeheartedly believe that they are one of the best ways to grow your income relatively quickly. I credit where I am today, both career-wise and financially, almost entirely due to the gig economy, and if it wasn't for side hustles, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so because of this, I have done a lot of research over the years trying to figure out some of the best side hustles out there, and I've learned a lot about which ones work and which ones don't. Now keep in mind, in this video, we are specifically going to be talking about side hustles that involve your car. Now the first one is, of course, Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft is oftentimes a debated side hustle in the world of the gig economy because of the fact that over the years, Uber and Lyft have both become not so driver friendly. When the platforms were first gaining popularity, there was a lot of focus in getting drivers and keeping drivers happy, but as the platform has grown and as the companies have gone public, this driver-focused mentality has almost gone away completely. As a result, there are a lot of people out there that believe that both Uber and Lyft simply are no longer worth doing. This is something I personally disagree with. I think both Uber and Lyft can be a really great side hustle to pursue that involves your car and you can make some really great money. The hours for Uber and Lyft are extremely flexible. It can be done after your 9 to 5 or in conjunction with another side gig, and if you're someone who's wanting to make extra money and you don't mind dealing with people, Uber and Lyft would for sure be something I'd look into. And one aspect of both the Uber and Lyft equation that nobody really talks about is the tax benefits of doing these types of side hustles. I hear a lot of discourse about Uber and Lyft because of things like insurance issues, wear and tear, and dealing with not so great of people. And while I don't know exactly how you can prevent the third issue, the truth is there are Uber and Lyft friendly insurance companies out there. You just need to make sure that you sign up with one of those. And when it comes to things like excessive wear and tear, there are actually a lot of deductions that can come along with being an Uber and Lyft driver. Because remember, whenever you're driving for companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, whatever the case is, you are officially a 1099 worker, which means that you are in some way, shape, or form self-employed. So things like tires, oil changes, gas, mileage, these are all things that can now be deducted. These are benefits that I don't hear often talked about in the world of the gig economy, and it's something that should be taken advantage of. For this reason and this reason alone, I wouldn't let these things scare you too much if you're somebody who's considering doing Uber or Lyft. This side hustle is 100% not a scam. I think it can be worth doing if you are somebody who doesn't mind interacting with people on a day-by-day basis. But if you are anything like me and the idea of interacting with people all day, every day sounds like your worst nightmare, then maybe side hustle number 2 would be more of your style, and that's driving for services like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, things like that. Basically any type of delivery service where you get items or things delivered to your door. Like I alluded to a few times in this video so far, I think that these types of services are even better than Uber and Lyft because you don't have to deal with people, you don't have to have people in your car, and overall I think it is a bit safer. And I wholeheartedly believe that these types of side hustles can be excellent ways to make extra cash if you're somebody who's saving for something specific like a house, a vacation, or a new car. In fact, I know of so many people that have done this successfully. In fact, I personally have a friend who used Uber Eats and DoorDash in order to save for her down payment for her house. This is another one that's 100% not a scam and it is worth doing. I will say though that the downside of both of these types of side hustle, rideshare, and delivery services is that these side gigs are not passive in any way. You have to be actively working in order to make money, and if you're not working, well then you're not earning cash. And while this can be fine if you're somebody who's using these types of services for a specific goal in mind, like making a big purchase, paying off debt, paying off student loans, whatever the case is, I do caution you in getting into the habit of using Uber Eats, DoorDash, or rideshare services in order to supplement your lifestyle because you aren't making enough to live off of. This can become particularly problematic if you're somebody that gets used to that type of lifestyle with this type of income and then one day comes where you can't drive for these apps. And then you're in a bind because you can no longer afford to live. You don't want to have to work for these hourly gig jobs in order to live. Instead, I would utilize them as a way to get to that next level in life or to make that big purchase that you're saving up for. Next up is wrapping your car for money. Wrapping your car in exchange for money, there are a number of companies that do this. Wrapify, Carvertise, I've made videos about these in the past, but essentially you wrap your car with advertisements and you either get paid based on how much you drive or you get paid a flat fee and you are required to drive a certain distance. Now, this type of side hustle is technically not a scam. These companies do what they say they're going to do, but is it worth doing? I don't know. The problem with this type of side hustle is the logistics of not only getting your car wrapped, getting your car unwrapped once the gig is complete, and then driving around with this wrap for an extended period of time. I just don't know if all of that work is worth it for a few $100s per month, and I think that there are other side hustles out there that can make you that same amount of money in a much quicker amount of time, and quite honestly, less effort as well. Now, I do think that if you're somebody who has a lot of free time and you want to make really easy money, then possibly doing this type of wrapping service could be a good way to make a few $100s per month. But in my experience and in my research, people aren't making 4 figures per month with this type of side hustle. It really is like $200, $300, maybe $400 per month, depending on how much you drive. And I think when push comes to shove, there are just simply other options out there. If you're somebody who's really set on doing the side gig, it is legit in the sense that they do pay you for what they say they're going to pay you for. But when it comes to valuing your time for the amount of money that you can make, I simply don't think that wrapping your car for profit is worth it. There are a bunch of other options that are way more lucrative, and for this reason, I would pass on the side hustle. Number 4 is another common one that's mentioned on lists. It's also one that many of you have probably heard of, and that is car sharing. Now, you guys know that I wouldn't make a side hustle video without talking about my favorite side hustles of all of the side hustles, and that is car sharing on platforms like Turo. Car sharing is when you rent your car out in exchange for money. You can rent out your personal car for a few $100s per month, or you can rent out Turo specific cars like I do. For example, I have 25 cars in my fleet. Now, Turo as a side hustle is 100% legit. I think that Turo is the best side hustle out there, and I can't have enough good things to say about it. And I think that if you are somebody that has an extra car, you have the ability to rent your personal car, or you have the ability to buy a Turo-specific car, this is an incredible side hustle to take part of that can truly change your life if done correctly. But, and this may surprise a lot of people, I don't think that Turo is the best side hustle out there if you're somebody that has no interest in being a Turo host, and you're somebody who's just wanting to make some cash quickly. So basically, if you're somebody that just has your personal car and you're not wanting to buy anything extra, I don't know if Turo is the best option for you. Now, let me explain. Turo is a really scalable side hustle. It's one of the few side hustles out there that you really can scale to 7 figures per year. In fact, I know many people personally who have done just that, and I've scaled my own fleet to a multi-6-figure company. But the thing about Turo is that you need a car, and so you need to be able to either purchase a car or use a car that you already have in order to take part in that side hustle. And the problem is not that many people have an extra car lying around or have the ability to buy an extra car. This does make it a really tough side hustle to get started with if you're just wanting to make money casually. Additionally, depending on where you live, renting out your personal car could be a huge pain. For example, I live in the Dallas area. We have absolutely no public transportation here. It isn't walkable at all. And as a result, if I was somebody who was wanting to casually make money, renting out my personal car on Turo wouldn't be the best option. But on the flip side, if you live in a walkable city and you don't use your car that much, Turo could be a really cool option for you. If I was somebody who's wanting to make, say, $500 to $1,000 per month in my spare time, and I had no desire to own a fleet of cars or work on cars or deal with cars, then Turo definitely isn't the best option, and you would probably be better off doing something else like food delivery or even something like freelancing. But if you are somebody who's wanting to use the gig economy to grow a multi-5-figure or 6-figure business, then Turo is a really cool option to pursue. I just think in general, Turo can be a bit inconvenient for the casual host that has no interest in cars or Turo long term. And so because of that, I think that while Turo is a great side hustle and a great business to grow, I don't think it's the best side hustle out there to casually make a few $100s. And for that reason, I think in some circumstances, Turo is an incredible side hustle, while in others, it's probably one you should pass on. And number 5 on this list is driving kids around like a children's shuttle service. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have looked up how to make money with your car probably hundreds of times over the years just to see what these different lists consist of. And in every single list, this side hustle is always, without fail, in the top 5. The idea is that you shuttle kids around either to and from school or to after-school activities, and you make money doing that. And while this type of side hustle is definitely legitimate, I don't know that I would consider this a side gig or if I would consider this something worth doing on a casual basis. These blogs will talk about services like Care.com or Hop Skip Drive, which can connect you with families that need transportation for their kids. The problem is these side hustles aren't exactly easy to get into. Any side hustle involving kids is going to be difficult to get into, and rightfully so. I don't have kids, but if I did, I absolutely would want to vet any person who's driving them to and from school or to and from after school activities. Because of this, if you are somebody who's wanting to get involved in this type of side hustle, you're going to have your background checked, your driving record checked, your vehicle checked. Make sure that you have crossed all of your T's and dot all of your I's. This type of side hustle is not a side hustle. It is simply a part-time job. You have to be interviewed, you have to go through a screening. It is in no way a side gig. It's a side job that you can do in addition to something else. So while this gig is a perfectly reasonable and legitimate way to make some extra money, it absolutely is not a side gig, and for this reason, I would pass on this. This is a part-time job, not a side gig, and between transporting children, dealing with kids, interacting with families, this seems like a lot more work than it's probably worth. Now, don't get me wrong, this type of job in nannying can be a great way to make extra money. In fact, in high school, I was a nanny, and part of my job was toting kids to and from school and after school activities. It was a great job, I loved it, and I made really good money for my age. But it definitely isn't a side hustle. It's not flexible, and it's not something that you can do on your own time. It is a full-fledged job. And because of this reason, I would pass on this side hustle. There are simply better options out there that will make you more money with less effort. The truth is, most side hustles out there will make you some money. The question is the effort worth the amount of money that you'll make? And that's where a lot of side hustles are going to fall short. And so if I was somebody who was getting started with the gig economy today and I wanted to make some extra money with my car, here is exactly what I would do. Number one is I would keep my regular job, whether that be a 9-to-5, a retail job, whatever the case is. I would keep that job and have absolutely no plans to quit it anytime soon. I would make sure to be working that on a week-by-week basis in order to make some stable income. In addition to my 9-to-5, I would do Uber Eats and Lyft every single day to make some extra money. I would do this after my 9-to-5 for as late as I physically could handle. I would save every single dollar that I made with my Uber Eats, DoorDash, and 9-to-5 job, and I would then use that money in order to buy a cash car, which I would then list on Turo. Then, as I had my first car listed on Turo, I'd basically rinse and repeat this process over and over again. I would save as much money as possible for my 9-to-5, my side gig, and my Turo business, and I would continue to buy cash cars as often as I could. Eventually, you would get to the point where you wouldn't need to drive for Uber Eats and Lyft anymore, and at some point in time, you may even get to the point where you don't need your 9-to-5. This is exactly what I would do if I was starting brand new in the gig economy today. I believe in general that side hustles should be a means to an end, and unless a side hustle can be scaled to a large business model like Airbnb and Turo, a side hustle really should be used to get you to that next level, to get you to that next phase in life, whether it be to buy a house, a car, save for something special, or to help you invest into a different business. And I believe that in order to do this, doing things like wrapping your car or shuttling kids around is just kind of a waste of time. But of course, there are plenty of other non-car related side hustles out there, like freelancing, for example, that can be a great way to make some extra money as well. So I certainly wouldn't only look at car-related side hustles because there are tons of great options out there. But like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.